Right, back with you tonight on In Focus, as I promised. Let's continue then with that conversation on local government. A report presented to Parliament by the Auditor-General highlighting municipalities that failed to achieve clean audits while others moved to disclaimer audit results. The report, which covered 254 municipalities, indicating 360 material irregularities, including non-compliance and suspected fraud, with an estimated collective value of 7.3 billion in the audited financial year. Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs chairperson Dr Zweli Mkhize joins us now for more on that conversation. Kabazela, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. A mixed picture, if you like. If you look at the disclaimer count, it's coming down, but if you look at the unqualified segment, if you like, we are regressing there. Much of it jumping into the unqualified with findings, the yellow area. More municipalities comfortable now sitting in that space at about 110 municipalities. What does that say to the committee about the integrity of these institutions?
Well, thank you very much to you and the viewers. The Auditor General's report has raised a lot of concerns. Firstly, as you pointed out, that out of 257 municipalities, straight clean audits are 34, when in fact all of them should have been clean audits. And then, of course, you've got others with a lot of findings, unqualified with findings, qualified with findings. But most of concern are the ones which have got adverse findings, disclaimers, and those which have got outstanding audits. Now, the problem with this is that it basically says the Auditor General is unable to even make an opinion about the others did not even submit. So the real challenge with all of this is that that's where everything starts. You know, there has to be good financial management. They've got to be able to show good audit reports to be able to effectively manage service delivery. So with this report that we have, we're even having some municipalities that are not just disclaimers. They've got disclaimer, but they've actually been like that for many, many years. And so that is a matter of serious concern. And so we've got repeat offenders who have not had, who have not submitted either on time or not at all. And so because of that, then you realize that the Auditor General is not even able to make an opinion of where what their situation is. This, for us, is a matter of serious concern, which not only the municipalities have to, take accountability for, but even the provincial government. At this point, we even asked the national government to actually, put a very strong focus on how to improve these outcomes.
So, in that ecosystem, to engender a culture of institutional integrity, I mean, what do you see as the role that National should be playing now? The Auditor General pointing out that the large number of those who would have moved out of the disclaimer cohort would have really been because of the intervention of province, where province would have come in and ensured, for example, that they report on the financials, they report on the performance, the support that's given there. But we are finding now a lot of them wanting to come and sit in the 110, which is the unqualified with findings, but rejoicing about that. At least we are sitting in that group. But the Auditor General saying there's a little bit of a challenge there, because that comes with a lot of non-compliance with legislation, especially around procurement.
Well, effectively, if there's no clean audit, it means that there may be those which are closer to, being unqualified, but with material misstatements or material irregularities, which means that there are things which are wrong with their, records, with the way that they go about with their financial statements. the way they go about with their planning of their own performance, the way they deal with the rest of the issues that should be the background toward service delivery. So, for example, the ones that had shown disclaimers for several years would be like in the Eastern Cape, the majority, Amatole, Makana, Sundays River, and then, of course, in the Northwest, you've got Likwa Timane, we've got Makwasi Hills, we've got Ratlo, and there are others in some of the provinces like Merafong in Gauteng, and Place in Northern Cape, and Joe Morolong in Northern Cape. Now, these have actually had more than 2 years, others more than 5 years, being disclaimers. Now, something is seriously wrong here, because it means now we need to find a way to change that culture where they are not able to have a quality report. Now, once you don't have that, it means even the management, you can't vouch that there's ethical management of the municipality. You can't vouch that there are no irregularities, there's no fraud, and so on because of that. So it now means that not only the national government, but the provincial government has to also participate in helping these municipalities. Actually, the audit reports are not about the work of the chief financial officer. They're about the overall work of the municipality, particularly with the mayor and the council, the municipal council, taking responsibility for the performance, for the good audit outcome. And then the provincial government has to offer the similar support, and they've shown as well in a number of municipalities that where there's been an improvement, it's where there was an intervention from the provincial government, and in some instances even the national government. So our call was for the national minister and the national government at that level to make plans to ensure that all of these things are not repeated. For example, where you've got the problem of municipalities not being able to submit proper records, that needs to be stopped. Where the records are inaccurate and they are not a reflection of the performance of the municipality, that has to be stopped. But there are also others who use consultants to actually improve their record keeping. Now, there's a way of using consultants, but there's also another way of using consultants which is not helpful. So, for example, we believe that the municipalities, some of these which are repeat offenders, don't have capacity. So they don't have the right people in place. They may not have the qualified CFO. They may not have the qualified technical director. They may not have qualified municipal managers. So that needs to be the first thing that needs to be corrected. But in addition, there has to be a continuous supervision over them to make sure that they are able to record properly. Many of these municipalities, the financial statement that they submit are not accurate. They can't back them up. If you look for their revenue, they can't actually confirm on record their revenue. You look at their expenditure, they can't confirm on record. You can't also confirm that there've been consequence management on areas where previously there's been they pointed out that there were certain irregularities. They can't even confirm that they've had proper plans that are able to show that their performance will be in keeping with the service delivery requirements of that particular area. In some instances, they've even got no record of proper maintenance of the infrastructure that they have. So all of these issues mean that there has to be a lot of support to make sure that we deal with the problem. But in addition, those which are repeat offenders, we need to make sure that there's consequence management there.
Yeah. It's an area of concern, especially around the unqualified with findings. 110, 77 of those, the Auditor-General says they are repeat offenders. But here's another startling situation where metros find themselves in that cohort of unqualified 8, only 1 clean audit. And as you pointed out, service delivery reports, something with the budgets that those metros are dealing with should not be an issue. They should have people who are qualified to bring those service delivery reports. Two, they're showing that they need support to build capacity. Three, political instability, of course, which is an area that needs to be addressed. Now, I need to understand from the support and oversight cohort, what influence and what enforcement can you bring into this space? Because I was speaking to the chairperson of the Public Service Commission, and he says, look, this triple D thing, district development model, is a problem because it's not legislated. Municipalities can opt in if they want to be a part of it. Otherwise, if they don't, again, they don't have to opt in. So what influence can you exert as lawmakers, and what enforcement can you exert as lawmakers?
Now, from you're quite right about the metros. Firstly, the metros have adequate revenue to be able, they've got adequate resources to be able to get the best qualified, professionals. Financial managers, they should be able to pay them. Technical, director, they should be able to pay them. So there's no explanation for us that will suffice to explain why only one metro has got a clean audit, because if it's a small municipality, they would say that they don't have adequate skills, they don't have adequate resources. That is a bit better to understand. But the ones that we're dealing with where you don't have those shortages, then that's the one that we're concerned with. And it tends to be that in those instances, there would be administrative irregularities, there will be very poor consequence management. There may also be a political interference where certain decisions are taken, but which are ill-advised. And so all of these issues need to be dealt with. Now, when we make the call, the role of the portfolio committee is to hold government accountable at different levels. So our call is for the minister to table to the portfolio committee a plan of how we're going to correct all of these things. Firstly, where there are, records of irregular, fruitless, wasteful expenditure, what action has been taken to correct that, to prevent that, and also, any penalties or any punishment to the staff, and also if there are any criminal investigations. Now, the minister has to actually table the plan to deal with that issue for us. Where there are instances where there are people who are in positions but are not properly qualified, the Department of COGTA has a responsibility to vet whoever gets appointed, and therefore there cannot be an explanation for an unqualified manager at a metro level or even at any municipal level. So the minister has to make sure that those are corrected. So then when we deal with the issues of the performance audit, here we need to make sure that there are good plans in place, there's proper budgeting, and that municipalities don't budget. They don't put up an unfunded budget where you just simply put figures that have got no reality, no relationship to reality of revenue collection. So that has to be stopped, and the minister is able to actually stop such budget from being passed by the municipalities. There's also the new legal instrument which now allows the Auditor-General to insist on certain actions from the municipality and even from government, so that they must actually force the various municipalities to perform as expected. Now that helps quite a lot, because then beyond that point, it is possible to actually charge the municipal manager for the loss of resources that were the result of negligence after they've been supported, after they've been warned. All of these are some of the activities that we expect that the government at a national level should be able to table to the committee. So we will then be calling for accountability, we will be calling for transparency, we'll be calling for everything that will ensure that we don't run into a problem of later having to talk about dysfunctional municipalities, when in fact the earlier indications did indicate already that the way that they were going about with their planning, with their record keeping, with their maintenance of the infrastructure, they will actually most likely fail. And then we don't end up with a problem where people are rising on a protest, they're dissatisfied, they're unhappy, they are, demonstrating against a municipality, when in fact there were indications long before that something needed to be done here. I think that the focus of accountability should be at that level, that from national minister, departments, and of course premiers and the provincial government and the mayors and the councils, everyone needs to know that that whole chain has to account.
Yeah. There is, of course, the interventions that the minister, I'm sure you would have heard, would say they're doing, which is something akin to the presidential task team on local government that was sent to eThekwini. If you look at Mirafong as one example, it's a municipality where that intervention of some sort has been in place. That municipality is under administration. So at that point, national government is intervening there. It doesn't seem the administrator or something akin to an administrator really comes in and makes any difference, because Mirafong has been there now in that disclaimer spot for 4 years and it's becoming worse.
There are many municipalities which have had challenges. Mirafong, as you're pointing out, there have been issues around Mfuleni, there have been issues in Maluta
Pofong, yes.
Yes, and a number of other municipalities. Now, what the minister has actually undertaken to do is that they have set up an interministerial committee which looks beyond just the issue of, COCTA, but they're also bringing in water, sanitation, they're bringing in, a few other departments so that they can converge in a municipality that has got service delivery challenges. Now we are looking forward to those reports of that intervention. We are looking forward to those plans of interventions, because that begins to give us a hope that the interventions might be able to take us somewhere. But in addition, there is a provision in the Constitution of Section 154, whereby municipalities need to be given all the necessary support by government at different levels so that they are able to better perform in service delivery. Long before you have to intervene with the Section 139 and all of those, because you are actually saying you notice that they are going through certain challenges, and therefore you bring in the necessary support to boost their capacity to perform. So we also believe that a lot more emphasis has to go onto the Section 154 that allows municipalities to be supported in improving their governance capabilities. So if we can focus on those, I think that we'll be able to make some progress. What's been encouraging in this report has been the fact that there were a number of municipalities where it was recorded that the slight improvement was because there was support that came from provincial government, that came from national government. Now that we are saying is a step in the right direction. And therefore, it is both to say the support for the municipality needs to be done proactively, not at the point where we now suddenly have disclaimers or a very adverse report, but it must be done proactively. But if that is the case, it actually also to reinforce the understanding that the audit report is not about just the financial statements, but it's all about the entire performance of the municipality, as it were. Yeah. Also, that when we've got a list of municipalities that are reported as being dysfunctional, the minister will be taking us through a lot of those, although there might be improvement, as he has indicated some improvement, but it's important to know that where there are negative audit outcomes, you are not likely to have very good service delivery. So you need to balance the two. In order to get to good service delivery, we need to make sure that the financial management, the issue of performance planning, and all of those issues, are taken care of long ahead of time so that service delivery becomes satisfactory.
In fact, the Auditor General saying we can now, in fact, without a doubt, draw a clear line that there is no such a thing that exists that says you've got a disclaimer and you are delivering services. A disclaimer audit outcome does not exist with good service delivery. Those municipalities in the 14 of disclaimers, largely Free State and the Northwest would make up that, of course, Mirafong being there. And there's this thing of political instability. One of the things that the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs is looking at are the new rules that govern coalition. Is there something that needs to be done there to speed up that process as lawmakers that you're looking at?
There are rules. There is a proposed legislation to deal with issues of coalition. But I think whilst we're processing that, we need to also be realistic. The issue of political interference, the issue of the interference in the political and administrative interface has long been pointed out, and it's not only related to coalition government. It is also an issue that arises even within one party. It is a matter there where you find that the conflict might be within intra-party, which means within the members of the same party. You might also find it between members of different parties, whether they are or they are not in a coalition. But also, mostly, there's also been quite a lot of instability as a result of the coalition governments. Now, firstly, if government were to then strengthen the legislation that would guide the formation of coalition to ensure that there's stability. But in addition, there has to be direct engagements with the political leadership of the parties that are governing in the particular area.
Right.
Not only should mayors take responsibility, but the political parties also have to effect discipline on their own members, because if it's political decision-making that is causing a challenge, then of course the political intervention from the senior leaders must bring that to the proper direction, so that you don't have that disturbing and spilling over into the administration.
Kamaza, let's leave it there. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming in. Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs there, Dr. Zweli Mkhize.